Once upon a time, American roads weren't ruled by cars. They were ruled by legends. It was the golden age of American muscle, a time when engine roar meant something different, a time when drag racing monsters were coming directly from the factory, breaking barriers, setting records, and earning a place in history books. Stay with us and meet icons that redefine power and speed as we meet 20 legendary muscle cars that ruled the drag strip. Back in 1962, Mopar released one of its first factory-built drag monsters, setting the stage for muscle car drag wars that would start soon after. The key feature of the cars was, of course, the engine. That 413 cubic inch max Wedge V8 was a real powerhouse back in the day, with high compression, twin Carter AFB 4-barrel carburetors, and a radical cross-ram intake manifold. Altogether, these upgrades would provide a max output of 420 horsepower, which was a staggering figure back in the early 1960s. But the Dart 413 Max Wedge wasn't just about raw power. A lot of focus was on weight reduction, as the car featured aluminum body panels, lightweight bucket seats, and a completely stripped-down interior. It dominated the NHRA Superstock competition. Moreover, we could say that this was probably the first American car to embrace the concept of lightweight bodies paired with massive power. A true revolutionary. Although it looked pretty much like a regular Impala, the Z11 was a factory-built drag racer designed to dominate the NHRA Superstock racing. Under the hood, it featured a special version of the 427 V8, with lightweight aluminum cylinder heads, a high-rise intake manifold, and dual 4-barrel carburetors. The official engine rating was 430 horsepower, but the more realistic output was much closer to 500. At the same time, the Z11 adopted an aluminum hood, fenders, bumper, and other body parts, which helped it lose 300 pounds over the regular Impala. Combine that with the engine's massive torque and revised rear gearing, and it's no surprise that, even back in the day, the Z11's quarter-mile time was in low 11 seconds. And not only was it incredibly fast, it was extremely rare, with just 57 units built. This is easily one of the most extreme drag cars of the era, and if you wonder where the Swiss cheese came from, it's because Pontiac engineers used a pretty interesting method of weight reduction by drilling large holes in the steel frame rails. Of course, typical weight reduction things like aluminum body panels were there too, which perfectly complemented that 421 Super Duty V8. The engine itself came equipped with dual 4-barrel carburetors, high-flow cylinder heads, and aluminum intake manifold, which helped the engine push out 405 official horsepower, while the actual output was much higher. Low 11 seconds was its quarter-mile time, while the fact that only 14 models were built make it even more desirable among collectors, and one of the most valuable Pontiacs ever produced. No list of this kind can be complete without the 1963 Dodge Polara 500, one of the most brutal factory-built drag racers of the time. One of the key upgrades was the new 426 V8, which brought high-compression pistons, aggressive camshaft timing, and the famous cross-ram intake manifold, feeding two AFT 4-barrel carburetors. It was a notable upgrade over the previous 413 engine, with the factory-rated 425 horsepower, and significantly higher actual output. Of course, weight-shedding methods were applied as well, while the 4.56 rear gears are also worth mentioning. The Polara 500 was meant for straight-line speed, and it delivered. So well that it cemented Dodge's reputation as a dominant force in early 1960s factory-backed racing. The year 1963 was a great year, because it gave us so many drag icons, including the 1963 Pontiac Tempest LeMans Super Duty, which was one of the wildest stock races back in the day, famous for its odd engineering. It was small and light, but equipped with the massive 421 V8, which would work perfectly in combination with Tempest's unique rear-mounted transaxle. That feature ensured perfect weight distribution and superior traction off the line, which was a huge advantage over conventionally designed rivals. It dominated the scene, which, along with its unconventional design, made it a true legend. And if you consider that only 6 cars were built, it's no surprise that collectors are willing to pay enormous sums to get one of these. It's pretty legal to say that the 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt was a true street legal rocket, a brute force that became one of the most feared cars of its time. The recipe was quite simple. Take a lightweight Fairlane and put a massive 427 V8 in it. The famous high riser was further upgraded, so the official output went up to 425 horsepower. But in reality, the engine would push out way over 500 horsepower. Ford went even further and replaced the hood, doors, front fenders, and front bumper with fiberglass, while even the radio and heater were removed. At the same time, the Blue Oval did everything possible to maximize traction by adding new rear shocks and even putting battery in the trunk. Excellent quarter-mile time was guaranteed, and the Thunderbolt immediately established itself as a powerhouse and one of the most legendary drag racers Ford ever made. What can we say about the 1964 Dodge 330 Hemi Lightweight? Compact and lightweight, it was a perfect platform for a successful drag racer, especially after putting in a massive 426 Hemi V8 with 425 horsepower. In no time, the 330 became an NHRA Superstock terror. But, like the standard 330 wasn't already light enough, Dodge engineers pushed the limits even further by installing aluminum front fenders, a lightweight hood with a recognizable massive scoop, aluminum bumper brackets, and a stripped-down interior. As a result, the car weighed just 3,200 pounds, which is the key reason why it was able to complete a quarter mile in just 11 seconds, which cemented its status as one of the most significant Hemi-powered drag cars in history. The 1965 Ford Mustang AFX Hallman Moody was one of those models that defined the funny car class. Built by the famous Holman Moody racing team, it was groundbreaking in many ways. For example, it featured fiberglass body panels and plexiglass windows. Under the hood, it was powered by a 271 V8. But even though it was a relatively small engine, it was powerful, thanks to the addition of a supercharger. It was one of the first models designed specifically for the altered factory experimental class, where it faced much bigger monsters. But again, its lightweight structure made it not just competitive, but, in many cases, dominant as well, despite the relatively modest max output of 271 horsepower. Powered by the 426 Hemi V8, the A990 was an impressive factory-built drag racing machine. Dual 4-barrel carburetors and other upgrades ensured the max output of 425 official horsepower. But like most other drag racers on the list, it wasn't just about the engine. Weight reduction methods were applied as well, just like some specific technical solutions, starting from high-strength suspension and heavy-duty rear axles. It was enough for a low 11-second quarter-mile time, and that was impressive at the time. And just like every prominent drag racer, it was very exclusive, with only 50 units produced. The legendary Dick Harrell took an already impressive race-ready Z28 and turned it into a capable drag machine. With numerous modifications, this model was built to compete in, at the time, the newly established Trans Am series. The 302 V8 was modified to push out over 300 horsepower, which, in combination with extensive weight-saving modifications, including a lightweight aluminum radiator, made it not just quicker on the straight line, but more agile on the track as well. The Dick Harrell Special was full of Harrell's personal touches, including suspension tweaks and rear axle, but the real beauty of this car was that it was not just a capable drag racer, but also a track-ready machine. making it one of the most versatile performance cars of the era and one of the cult classics among muscle car fans. The 1968 Dodge Dart LO23 Hemi Superstock was a no-compromise drag racer designed to dominate the Superstock class. Of course, it was powered by the 426 V8 with 425 horsepower, similar kinds of upgrades as its corporal siblings. Similar methods of weight reduction were used as well, so no one was surprised that Dodge launched another formidable competitor in the Superstock class. It was one of the first cars to reach the low 10-second quarter-mile time, and with just 50 units produced, it's clear why today it enjoys the status of one of the most sought-after drag racers from the 1960s. The 1968 Plymouth Barracuda BO29 Hemi Superstock is yet another jewel from Chrysler Corporation from the golden era of the American automotive industry. Once again, we are talking about the 426 Hemi V8 and familiar upgrades found in other factory-built drag racers from Chrysler Corporation. But this one was smaller and among the lightest in the pack, so it's no surprise it was also among the fastest, with a quarter-mile time typically going in the low 10-second range. It was a hell of a competitor back in the day, which turned it into one of Plymouth's biggest legends, at least when we talk about racing history. The 1969 428 Cobra Jet Superstock is yet another legend of the NHRA Superstock class. What made it special back in the day was primarily the Cobra Jet V8 engine, which was way more reliable and affordable than the 427. It had strong low-end torque and high-performance components like quadrajet carburetors and specialized headers, which made it an absolute beast on the drag strip. But it wasn't just about the engine. That model was also equipped with drag-specific suspension designed to maximize traction and minimize wheel hop. Of course, various steps to lighten the car were made as well, so we could say it offered not just a mix of capable engine and lightweight construction, but also consistency and durability. The 1969 Chevrolet COPO Camaro 9561 is one of the biggest legends of its era, a part of Chevy's famous central office production order that allowed dealers to order cars with factory-installed performance engines that weren't available in standard configurations. In this case, that was the 427 V8, equipped with iron block and official output of 425 horsepower, though the actual power was much higher. It was one of the most powerful Camaros back in the day, so it's no surprise it was an excellent drag racer. This version, the COPO 9561, was interesting in particular as it was lighter and upgraded with heavy-duty suspension and reinforced rear axle. Therefore, the success was guaranteed, while the limited production run of just over 1,000 units made it an instant collectible. While the 9561 was great, the 9560 was a fantastic drag racer. It was a rarer and more powerful variant of the COPO Camaro, highlighted by an aluminum block 427 V8 engine with official rating of 430 horsepower, but way more in reality. Besides more power, the great advantage was lighter construction and with better power-to-weight ratio. It's clear it was notably quicker. But upgraded performance wasn't the only thing about it. Another difference was in pricing and production numbers. This was an extremely expensive option, so it's no surprise that only 69 units were built. Clearly, it was more exclusive, a perfect example for enthusiasts and collectors, so it's no surprise that, even today, prices at auctions can easily go out of control. Driven by the legendary Ricky Grumpy Smith, this is one of the most legendary Camaros in the NHRA competitions. Famous for extreme modifications and out-of-this-world performance. The basis, of course, was the 427 V8, which was upgraded with advanced performance parts like high-compression pistons, race camshaft, and forged internals. Moreover, it even had nitrous oxide injection. So it's no surprise that the maximum output was over 600 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful engines at the time. Additionally, the car was stripped down and featured a custom suspension setup with ladder bars and a high-performance rear axle. As a result, the quarter-mile time would go in the 9-second range, truly remarkable for the era. The car became legendary while Grumpy Smith solidified his reputation. Together, they made one of the most interesting automotive stories of the early 1970s. Here comes another drag racing icon, the Hemi Cuda, driven by the legendary racing team Sox and Martin. This one was specifically built for the NHRA Superstock class, and it offered a perfect combo of raw power and precision engineering. Under the hood, the well-known Hemi 426 paired with a 4-speed manual gearbox, but that was just part of the equation. There were excessive weight-saving measures as well, while Sox and Martin made adjustments to the suspension to optimize traction. As a result, a quarter mile would typically be completed in the low 10-second range, which was enough for the status of one of the most feared competitors on the track. Back in the day, AMC showed ambition to compete with big players in muscle car racing, and for that purpose, it built one of the biggest legends of the Superstock class, the AMX Patriot 1. Equipped with the 390 V8, this drag racer was good for about 340 horsepower. Raw power was complemented by stripped-down interior and other methods of weight savings, while reinforced suspension and 4-speed manual transmission optimized performance even further. All these upgrades ensured numerous victories in Superstock racing, which seems even more impressive once you realize that AMC was a relatively small company, especially when compared to giants like Ford or Chevrolet. It was a bit of an achievement, so it's no surprise that today, this is one of the most desirable collector's items among AMC lovers. .426 Hemi V8 and lightweight construction. How many times did you hear this in today's video? Simply, it was the proven recipe that all Chrysler drag racers used back in the day. But still, this one was a little bit different, because it included the involvement of Dick Landy's expertise. With his help, the car was fine-tuned for maximum acceleration and drag strip performance, which ensured impressive quarter-mile times. Soon enough, the challenger Dick Landy would become a formidable competitor in drag racing, which only solidified Dodge's reputation in drag racing, while the success on the track and association with Landy also made it a desirable classic. We already talked about the 1970 model, but this one brought several important changes and certainly deserves to be mentioned separately. In 1971, NHRA changed rules, so it came with redesigned front and rear bumpers, while the car also featured new decals. Interestingly, this version also featured a refined interior and reworked suspension that improved handling and traction. Despite the changes, things on the strip remained pretty much the same. The Sox and Martin continued to dominate, helping Plymouth solidify its reputation even more. The 1971 model is generally regarded as more collectible, but that's probably because of the lower production numbers. This would be our list of 20 legendary muscle cars that ruled the drag strip. Do you like it? Or maybe you would like to change something? Share your thoughts in the comments and be sure to subscribe. There's much more on our channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.